Hey, are you ready for our bullish talk show? We got guests for days, on queuing in a row. The biggest names in the DeFi space. Black, white and yellow, guests from every race. So hands off your dick, cause now you're in luck. We're talking crypto daily with a big pump duck. Big duck energy, let's make banks fast. Come show with us here on the Pondcast.
Yo, what's going on? Live feed. It's awesome day here, Thursday, October 3rd, and this is the first of what we expect to be many Pondcasts between Doug the Duck and some of the most influential speakers and KOLs here in the space. Today, we've got a special guest, Soka Data. Soka Data, how's it going, man?
It is going great. Thanks so much for having me up here. I've been a big fan of Doug Duck Soul for a long time.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, I mean, we've always appreciated having you as one of kind of our community leaders and someone who ultimately has supported the project ever since its inception. We always love when you give us flowers and allow us up on your spaces, and it's been pretty impressive to us to be able to see your up and coming self through the crypto spaces and through crypto Twitter. Absolutely kudos to you, flowers to you, because you are one of the biggest speakers here in the spaces nowadays. I guess how I'd like to start this out, man, is to just allow you a couple minutes just to introduce yourself to our community, and start to let people know if they haven't heard of you, what's your thing here within the crypto space.
Yeah, 100%. So of course, thanks for having me up. And Doug Duck Soul has been a great project ever since I heard about you guys way back when on the Meme Coin Mania days with Travlad. I've been following the project, and there's been some things which we'll talk about, which has really endeared me to what you guys have going on. I just shout out a share as well. Make sure if you guys are listening out there in the Twitter bursts, or I don't know so much the other platforms, YouTube, I don't know if you can do this, but share it, get it out there, because the production quality here is really awesome, and I'm not surprised because that's what I've come to expect from Doug Duck Soul. But a little bit quickly about my background, and then we can dive into all the questions that you have. IRL, I was in Silicon Valley, and my background really is heavy in e-commerce and business. I was on both sides of VC, so I was at big companies. I've worked at some FANG companies, Facebook, FANG company, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. I haven't worked at all of them, of course, but I've worked at a few of the FANG companies. Then I've started my own companies, worked at small companies, and what I was doing predominantly before joining the meme coin space was really on the data analytics side for larger e-commerce brands, running my own thing. I got introduced into crypto during the 2016 bull run. Slightly before 2014 was when I bought my first Bitcoin. My roommate was a drug dealer at the time, and he was talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and I didn't really understand it. I didn't really get what was going on. The guy was a little bit of a loser, to be honest, and so it put a negative tinge on Bitcoin for me in the very beginning. But as I started to understand it and I saw what it was about, it kind of clicked for me that Bitcoin was something that was here to stay in our generation, about what it could do for financial freedom, not just because it would make you money, but also for what it meant about the financial control that governments had over its people. So the 2016 cycle was really good for me. The 2020 cycle, I got wrecked with NFTs, which was nice and fun. I spent a lot of money on NFTs, and many of those NFTs are not worth very much money anymore. And I knew some people who were in meme coins, and I was a Bitcoin maxi who kind of looked down my nose at meme coins and projects that didn't really have any utility. But then I started to understand, after talking to some friends who were in the space and some pretty significant KOLs, and I started to understand what it meant about community, what it meant about building projects, what it meant about financial opportunity. And so I started really focusing more heavily on meme coins, I'd say maybe around a year ago. And I started posting information about, what is more my authentic self, as you'd call it, data and data analytics, maybe around 6 months ago. And I was really hesitant to get into the meme coin space because what I heard about the meme coin space from my Bitcoin Maxi friends was that the people here weren't very smart, they weren't very talented, they wouldn't really understand data, etc. And I found the complete opposite. There's many people here in the crypto space that are extremely smart, extremely intelligent, kind, caring, and there is a place for all voices here, including mine. So that kind of gets me up to speed. That's my background. Obviously, happy to answer any questions and elaborate more as needed, but that's more or less about Soka Data.
I think it's interesting that probably every single one of us has a story where a drug dealer has onboarded us on the blockchain. It's funny you say that because so much like you, it's impressive that you have now been. If you were onboarded in 2016, that means you are sitting here on your upwards of your third cycle, right? So you're going into your third cycle for this stuff, and you probably saw like the origination of the original altcoin wave. So you've been in the space for almost close to a decade, which is just amazing. By the end of this cycle, you'll have been in the crypto space for at least a decade. So you definitely have a lot of imparting wisdom and stuff, and a lot of the different points that you brought up today are things that I definitely want to touch on here as part of the overall spaces. So I wanted to ask you, I noticed very recently that you started getting in with some of these high level spaces with Jake Gaggane and Rodney and UK Crypto Queen and some of these major influencers that have definitely, I want to say, launched you into what I consider the A and S tier of influencers on crypto Twitter. How did you make those relationships and start to essentially be running your own spaces alongside those established influencers?
Absolutely. And that's a great question. So there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of luck that goes into it. And I don't want to go too far back, but I will, because there's many stepping stones that I could point to. And shout out to anyone who's in chat or in the broadcast on X. I'm getting some nice messages. So thank you guys. Appreciate that. I think that probably the first big milestone for me, there's probably three, and then I'll bring it up to speed here. Number one was way back in the day when I was really first starting to post about meme coins, and I started posting about data. Crash, he retweeted one of my tweets, and my tweets were getting 7 views. I had 3 followers, and it was my cousin, myself, and on an alt account, and one other person. And I was getting a follower and I was super excited, and I was following for follow back, all that fun stuff that you have to do in the very beginning. And I remember getting to 10 followers and then 20. And I was like, whoa, this is really so exciting. And then when I was maybe at 80, I was working out at the gym, and I made a tweet about, I want to say it was Bobo, and Crash retweeted it. And I got many more views, and I tripled my followers from whatever it was, 30 to 90. And so that was something that I was very motivating, because it's a grind. I mean, I was tweeting around for 3 weeks. Nothing was really happening. Then that happened, and it gives you some motivation to keep going.
Not to mention the dopamine rush too.
Oh, dude, it's trust me, man, you're beating your head up against that wall. And then the other two things were Ponky retweeted one of my tweets about Ponky when I sent it, and then I went to go coach a soccer game for my kids, and then I got back to my phone. I had all these messages. It had over 100 likes. Like you said, that dopamine hit, that wow, this is actually paying off. It's really cool. It's great. And then Trav. So where I met you guys, actually, Duck Soul, was those Meme Coin Mania Trav space, and Trav reached out and said, "Love your content, man. Would love it if you'd come up on stage." Me, who was literally a drop in the, and still, I don't think that I'm anything better than any other individual at all. So that's never in my mind. But even back then, I was even more never better than any other individual. And so to be invited up on stage was really cool and very significant. And he was running those Meme Coin Mania spaces daily. And I was able to get up there and share my unique voice, my unique point of view, practice, because I don't think I was very good at speaking. I was nervous in the very beginning, even despite having done all these things, pitched in front of VCs that were going to be investing millions and millions of dollars in a company. It's different. It's a different experience. It's not something that I was as comfortable with. And so once I was on the Trav Spaces, I was able to get connected to a lot of other people. I was on stage with Rodney. I was on stage with AJ, Stecky, Jake a couple times. And then, Jake, he started looking for Spaces hosts to work with him daily. And I was fortunate enough that people DM'd him and said, yo, if you're going to be doing that, you've got to get Soka up there. And so he reached out to me. We had a conversation, talked a few times. He's like, yep, you get the prime slot here, the 4 p.m. Eastern slot, and take it away. You're going to kill it. And so I've been doing that for about 6 weeks. And then, I've been able to connect with some of the other influencers that you've talked about from there. Because it's Spaces host is kind of a small community, but also big. It's one of those things where it's a big world, but it's a small world as well. And so now it's Jules. I'm sure that many of you guys have seen Jules. I run the Ponky daily spaces with him, and he created. He's very good at like kind of seeing the writing on the wall of what's coming next, and he created groups with Spaces hosts where we could connect and communicate and drop our spaces in to give each other and share and show some support. And I'd say that those are probably the most significant things in my journey to coming onto this. It was probably the Crash tweet, the Ponky tweet, Trav bringing me up on his spaces, being able to connect with Jules and get into some of the groups that were, the up and coming Spaces hosts, and then Jake picking me up to run his 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. slot, or 4 p.m. Eastern slot for his daily shows.
And that's amazing because all of that has really just happened, at least within the influencer spectrum, just in the last year for you, right?
Sorry. Can you just repeat that real quick?
Sorry. So, and all of that's happened, all of that has essentially happened just in the last year for you, right?
Yes. I believe my first tweet on my account was April 17th, I want to say. And, okay. And I want to say that it was more so May 1st was kind of when I started, started really trying to push. Because my first tweet was like, okay, is this working? Kind of log in, all that fun stuff. So yeah, in about about 5 months, 6 months or so, so far.
But a lot of that opportunity just comes from really, at the end of the day, being willing to go up into spaces and being confident enough to speak and just being accepted into the community, which I think within the crypto Twitter space, I don't know if a lot of people have that comfortability to be able to get into it. Your story is much like mine. I don't even think I was on crypto Twitter until probably November of last year. And I was kind of trading meme, like for me, this is really my first full cycle. I heard about crypto. I've heard about crypto for over a decade. Like my drug buddies were the ones that were really talking about it last cycle. And I hopped into the cycle super late in a FOMO respect. And I didn't really take a lot of gains away from it. Much like you lost a lot of your money within NFTs. I ultimately was not selling the top on the last crypto cycle. But what that crypto cycle did is, for me, I consider myself a good technical analysis guru. And what that did for me is that basically taught me, like, there's a different way to play this game, and I need to learn how to play this game. So it started this technical analysis journey for me, where I started working it for the last year during the bear cycle. And eventually I ended up finding myself buying the bottom of this cycle and basically, seeing upwards of 5 to 10x gains through my technical analysis. And very early on in the Solana stages, I was working with the Myro team as well as the Bog team and getting on spaces as well. And that very quickly led to a very large following, just getting on and doing the spaces every single day and having a voice and talking about the crypto markets. Unfortunately, I lost my Twitter account about a month or so ago alongside the rest of the accounts that were attached to Doug the Duck. Unfortunately, Doug the Duck, when Trump as well as Elon Musk were going through and we're doing that initial spaces that attracted a lot of people, they were attracting a lot of spammers, a lot of DDoS attacks. So they were basically like permabanning every single person that was commenting on their space because they were trying to get their spaces going so it didn't become an absolute flop. So unfortunately, Doug the Duck got hit and all of the connected accounts for Doug the Duck got hit. So unfortunately, I lost my primary account and have not been able to get that account back. So if anybody's got connections out there in Twitter that can help get an account back, make sure that you message on Telegram at EasyZabo, and we'll see if we can get my account back. Because like you, I started from nothing and very quickly realized that when you're a strong speaker and when you've got something of value for the community, you can very quickly grow your following. And I was basically up to 2,500 followers, pushing 3,000 followers. And I remember starting to do a lot of spaces where I was getting into interactions with you, Nobu, as well as Jules, UK Crypto Queen, all those guys. And I felt like I was right on the cusp of breaking down that barrier, and then I got banned. So I'm like right on the cusp of seeing if I need to restart my own Twitter or if I can get my old one back. And I'm right in the middle.
Yeah, what happened with yours? Because I've experienced something similar, and Twitter's the worst. But I've been through some things. But like, what exactly do you know what you got banned for? At least you have an inkling of what you got banned for.
They honestly, so like the main account for Doug essentially got banned for what they called spam during that Elon Musk and Trump space when we were shilling out the coin in the comments, and we got banned with a lot of other teams, but. The primary team here has been working with the advertisement side of Twitter. So we were able to actually get our account back within about a span of a week or two. And, normally when a main account drops, the coin dies, and it dies very, very quickly. So there's a testament to the developers who continued to stay in contact with people on Telegram to ensure that, A, we got our account back, and that people knew that we were still out here grinding and working it. But unfortunately, the rest of the people that were connected to the Doug the Duck account have not been able to get their account back to date. And that's very unfortunate because it's definitely limited my ability to operate in just a personal degree. And for that reason, I've been focusing more on helping out, Doug the Duck as speaker and whatnot.
Yeah, I actually remember that when Doug the Duck, then when the main account went down, I didn't realize that so you're saying that the personal accounts connected with the main account, the main came back, but the personal accounts have not.
Yep, exactly. So all of our personal accounts are still under a ban, and we're still even being waited to be told from those accounts, what we violated. And, I've probably put in 5 to 6 different, requests for, to get my account back. And I still haven't heard back from Twitter as to what the overall issue is or why I was even banned in the first place. So it's been very difficult to get that back. And I really hope that Twitter can kind of try and work on that customer service side because, it'd be really nice to get my account back, but I'm right on the verge of creating a new account because I do love staying involved in crypto Twitter. And I did feel like I was really starting to get that mass following that you experienced just in the last 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, that's the worst, man. That's a bad feeling. And for people who, maybe haven't experienced that, I experienced it on a much smaller scale when I got shadow banned for tweeting too much, and I didn't get any information from Twitter. All of a sudden, my engagement just fell off a cliff, and I had to take a 3-day pause. That was it, because and by the way, Twitter didn't tell me this. Reddit told me this. They said, "Here's how you fix the problem. For sure, you're shadow banned. Here's how you can tell," and that hurt me for just 3 days. I had to log out. I had to not do anything, not touch anything, no DM, no spaces, no nothing. So I can only imagine when you're getting all that success, you're growing, you're feeling good, and then to get banned, it's just such like a gut punch. And that's the thing that Twitter, there's bots all over Twitter, all over the place. Everywhere you look,
there's negative actors, man. There's people, posting full porn videos and war videos and stuff. And then somehow, like we get banned and we can't even get a comment back. Like, I just think that's, it's for everything that, Elon has done to be able to improve the ability to, have a voice out on crypto Twitter. definitely with the downsizing of his company, it has made what I call user experience definitely suffer.
Yeah, that's a rough one, man. Well, maybe offline we could talk. Nothing off the top of my head comes because I'm not experienced in the problem that you're describing specifically. But I will say, unfortunately, Twitter is fairly poor in, as you're noticing, their determinations, their customer service. If you have an affiliated account, so I have the affiliated Ponky account, it does give you a higher level of service.
Yeah,
It's not much better though. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
dude. It's not much.
Well,
So like,
Well, I'm holding out for hopes, but if not, I'll be probably creating a new account soon, and hopefully I can get my following up just as fast, because it's, even though you've maybe lost the connections on your new account, if you're going into the same types of spaces with the same types of people, you're growing and your following is going to grow fast. So I'm waiting for some things to free up in the personal life to be able to have the ability to do that a little bit more. But hopefully you'll see me on a new main account soon. But I definitely want to get back on pace with the podcast and stuff, and definitely want to hear more about you. As I heard it from you, you've got some children and stuff, and you've probably got a nice blooming family. One thing that I want to know that I'm sure a lot of viewers struggle with, and a lot of people in the crypto space struggle with, is how do you balance personal life, personal work, beyond the actual work that you do on crypto Twitter, and just, life in general when it comes to balancing life in crypto? Because I know it's something that, even myself, I'm struggling with my wife to be able to manage those expectations and the amount of time I'm spending on it, considering you could trade this stuff 24/7. So I'd really like to hear from you about how you manage that process.
that is a phenomenal question. I'll give my perspective, and I'm a big fan of the Socratic method of learning, where, it's not one size fits all, and I can't say what will work for you or any other individual. I can just say, here's my experience, and here's what has worked for me, and here's what hasn't worked for me. So number one, to really make it in crypto, the work-life balance or home-life balance, it does get skewed, especially during times like this where we're really hitting the bull run. It's kind of nonstop. I mean, I'm on my phone probably unhealthy amount of time. And, you do have to sacrifice things. Like, there are some sacrifices that come along. And so I think it's important for every individual to think about what sacrifices they are willing to make, and which ones maybe that they aren't willing to make, and balance it in that way, and have that discussion with your significant other. Now, I also go back and forth sometimes, because there's some times where I think, man, if I were 22 years old, I would be in Singapore, token 2049. It'd be so fun. I'd be making it happen. And so there is a component of having no strings attached to be able to just attack it with like your full ferocity. However, the downside of that is, I don't know if I could have handled it at 22. I would have been coming in with a much different mentality. I would have been in scenes that I don't think that I would have been capable of handling the size of money now that, we're talking about and dealing with. I don't know that I would have been able to make that happen. So there's,
Let's see. Soka, I do think we might have lost you here. Might have to have you jump out and jump back in. Let's see here. Soka, let's see if maybe we could have you log back in and reset the room here really quick. So while Soka resets the room here, we'll take an opportunity here just to talk a little bit about what Doug the Duck is doing here within the last month or two here, and what we've got going here for progression. So to kind of like reset the room a little bit, Doug the Duck is a degenerate duck, and we've been going since May of last year. And we have been very, very strong in the crypto space, making sure that we're getting on some of the the greatest spaces. The idea behind Doug the Duck is that, we were left behind at the pond by all the other memes that have blown up here throughout this cycle. And Doug the Duck is still an amazing project and is still alive and well. We are not a CTO. We still have the original developers. We've got the original artists that are constantly working on this project. And some really amazing things that we've been doing lately is we just started this podcast. So this podcast is episode 1, and we plan on bringing a lot of amazing individuals such as Soka Data and other bright influencers here into the space on a weekly basis to talk to them about the crypto cycle. Doug the Duck, on Tuesdays, we do game night with multi-channel streams, and we play new games every single week. A couple Saturdays ago, we did a animated ad that was posted up on a Times Square video. We've been launching different campaigns on multiple social media platforms. So besides our Twitter page, which just reached 5,000 followers, we also have a Telegram that is over 6,000 followers strong. We've got a TikTok that's got over 42,000 followers. Our YouTube stream now has over 35,000 subscribers, which I think is absolutely amazing. And on that YouTube stream, we actually have a lot of videos that have as much as 200,000 views, which is just absolutely amazing for Doug the Duck. Looking at the numbers now, we are at 36.3K subscribers. And we are very quickly closing in on monetization through YouTube. And that monetization is going to allow us to continue building on this project, continue purchasing buybacks. And of course, one of the things that we've got going right now is that we are doing a $40,000 Doug giveaway for this space. So if you stay until the end of the space and throw down a comment, we are going to select one of the commenters for the space here today for a $40,000 Doug giveaway. So be sure to comment and speak in there about why you're bullish on the project and all things considering. But this project is really has its basis in making sure that that we really focus on content. So this Thursday, we have, I think, what is week 7 or episode 7 of a comic book series that is talking about the Doug the Duck origin. And we always follow that up on Friday with a YouTube video that kind of epitomizes the comic book for the week, and providing a story and providing another outlet of branding within the YouTube sphere. So we're closing in on a lot of different monetary opportunities through YouTube, through Twitter, through advertisements to continue pushing this project and everything. I do see that we got Soka here back in the space. Soka, sorry we lost you there. Can I get a mic check?
Yeah, mic check. We good?
Yeah, we're good. That's awesome, man. Hey, so
apologies.
I want to go back and forth a little bit because I just kind of introduced Doug the Duck and everything. How did you initially hear about Doug the Duck?
Yeah, so I heard about Doug the Duck on the Meme Coin Mania spaces that Travlad was running maybe in June or something like that, I'd say. And the content really spoke to me. I went into the Telegram. That's how I really evaluate projects in the beginning. Is I get interested, I go in the Telegram, I see what the introduction's like, because you can tell. You go into the Telegram, everyone's fun, everyone's having a good time. They're pumping each other up, not even with just shilling, just they're happy. And I was like, this is a cool place to be. Checked out the content, and then from the analytics side, some data really jumped out. The Hawk Tua video that you guys did was phenomenal. I know that really it generated millions of views, or potentially over 1 million views in 24 hours. And then I believe that there was a video of the Trump assassination as well, with Doug the Duck saving Trump that did something similar. So those are the kind of ingredients that really made me understand what Doug the Duck could be, would turn into, and made me really excited about the project.
Yeah, and I mean like you said, that's a testament to video content. There's not a lot of memes out there that are really focusing on video content, and as we've seen with crypto Twitter, they're definitely pushing video content up to the tops of the feeds. because it keeps people out there longer. It keeps people engaging more. So we definitely understand that focus. And we used to be doing our comic book series on a weekly basis, but we actually ramped that down so that way we can continue to make good video content every single week, and have stuff just beyond our overall comics book series and branding, things like Haktua, as well as the Trump assassination video, which helped us get our 50,000 followers on TikTok. I think that video got 1.5 million views before it was ultimately taken down for graphic content, so to speak. But being Doug the Duck and being a degenerate duck, I think our videos definitely push the boundaries of what's allowed in some of these outlets and stuff, and we're fine with that mantra, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're all adults, we're investors, we want to laugh, and we definitely kind of find that bridge, and we find that comfortable medium of stepping over the line and keeping people really interested in the project and stuff. So I mean, that's our mantra, and I'm glad that you pointed those two out as things that that you were interested in, because of course you're coming from the Ponke community. You're a big Ponke community leader, and I'm not trying to blow smoke, because I think Ponke is one of the best memes in this Solana cycle. But a lot of people have kind of compared us to, you know, a smaller Ponke, in the context that, you know, we do have amazing content. And at the end of the day, when it came to Ponke, you know, you guys started having just a couple viral videos, and out of nowhere, everybody was buying Ponke, and it seemed to happen essentially overnight. How involved were you in some of those early viral videos with Ponke? And how did it feel like it just like everything's, you know, flipped a switch? Was it something that the team internally did, or was it really a basis of the overall content?
Great question. Yeah, and this could be a very long answer, so I'll keep it kind of concise here. So the Ponke team, I believe it launched really in December, and I didn't catch on to Ponke until around May. After they retweeted my thing, I was so pumped, and I was posting a lot of content about Ponke, and someone on the team reached out and said, "Hey, you know, we like what you're doing. Let's talk." So we talked, and for the most part, my entry into the Ponke team had nothing to do with me as a Spaces host or a you know, content creator, anything like that. It was actually to help create decks for some top tier exchanges. So presentations to try to help them get listed on top tier exchanges. And I was responsible for really all the data that was going into that, the strategy, the messaging, because that was my background. So that was actually my introduction into Ponke. It had nothing to do with the viral, but none of that. Now, in going through those conversations with them, I can tell you, the Ponke team has a lot of people who have branding heavily in their background, and they understand the way that they build out this speculation and capture attention and really get the most value out of the views that they are getting. And so, you know, I can't really speak to when that all kind of first started, but how the story is told to me is it's really just in their background that it was always known that they were going to bring to the Web3 space some of these things that were so standard in, you know, some of the Web 1, Web 2 world. And it obviously is caught on. And the one thing that I will say as well that I heavily believe in, I believe in, you know, TA, all that stuff is good. That's fine. But to me, the thing that I care actually more about than anything, especially with meme coins, where in my opinion, there's not like, when you're doing TA on stocks, right? There's a lot of things that can happen. The CEO could run someone down with their car. They could do some insider trading. A drug could fail. Meme coins are all about generating attention. All about it. It's about shares. It's about engagement. It's about clicks. It's about likes. It's about followers. It's about how do you capture that attention, and then how do you monetize that attention? And so that's what I focused on more heavily than anything. That's what drew me to Ponke in the first place, is that their social metrics were off the charts. And as we discussed, well, what drew me to Doug? Obviously, I was introduced on the TravLab Spaces, but I saw hundreds of projects on those TravLab Spaces. Hundreds. I was doing them daily, and there were 20 projects a day coming up potentially. Doug the Duck captures virality in a very significant way, a la Ponke, like you're saying. And it's sitting at, I haven't checked the Duck market cap recently, but I'm going to assume it's at a fraction of the cost. And if it can convert on that attention, you're sitting on a really undervalued gem, because when liquidity comes, it's going to come to the people who can really capture the timeline. And Doug the Duck has shown that it can do that, which makes me pretty bullish. So I know that kind of took a winding road because you asked about Ponky and the videos, and was that like a conscious decision? How did the team do it? But I think that more or less checks some of those boxes, and then ties it back to why, more robustly, why Doug the Duck was something that kind of became top of my mind after that meme coin millionaire spaces.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate everything that you essentially said and stuff, because like you said, we, at the end of the day, it's really about the content and what you're doing. And I know that you mentioned kind of price action. So, I wanted to post up the original chart for Doug the Duck, and I've got that now up here on the screen so that way people can kind of see. But ultimately, Doug the Duck, really early on its stages when it was created from inception in early May, started at really about a $2.5 to $3 million market cap. And after a very significant and strong marketing push, and as we started to have some of our viral content videos go out, we pushed from a $3 million or a 300,000 market cap up to a $6 million market cap, which was in essence a 20x. And we did see some profit taking. And that profit taking brought us all the way down to a strong floor of just underneath $1 million market cap. And as you can see on the chart, we've touched that, just sub $1 million market cap multiple times, right around that 910,000 market cap. And we essentially had our fourth touch here earlier in September when we really started to see the market cap bleed. But I know technical analysis only tells part the story. We've been in this downtrend cycle, for the better part of 6 months, just like a lot of cryptos, and a lot of cryptos, from Ponke to WIF to Myro to all of the big names, they all lost as much as 50 to 60% of their market cap. So, I mean, it's nothing new, but I think what's impressive is that when you really start to see those downfalls and those drops, it all comes down to how the community holds themselves together and how the devs are willing to continue the project so as to not kind of create a CTO experience. And what we're seeing right now with Doug the Duck is that we have really strongly held this 1.1 million to $1.3 million market cap, and we're now trading sideways. And we've essentially eliminated all these downtrends that, certain traders have used to essentially trade sideways and chisel small percentage gains. So we understand that as we continue to cook and as we continue to stay a big name in this space, we do feel like we're going to have our moment, the types of moments that when we look across the crypto space, we're seeing with a lot of other different types of projects. And there's three that I want to come to mind because I know that I've heard them in your spaces, and we're finally seeing their work come to fruition. And those three would be Pop Dog, ADA on Sol, and there was one other one that really just recently had an explosion. I mean, you could probably consider GameStop potentially one of those, which sat down to about a 300,000 market cap floor. And then after some hype with Rory Kitty coming back, they absolutely exploded. But ultimately, it's the teams that continue to stick around. And once their chart levels off, and let's call it the Jeets are out of the project, so to speak, that eventually that liquidity comes back and sends it out into amazing new heights, and that flippening of holders and that flippening of people eventually, starts to convert the other way. And we've just always been really happy the fact that our holder count is now at 3,200, as can be seen here at the bottom. We're happy that our chart has held this long, and we understand that as we continue to be strong players in this space, that this project is ultimately going to expand very, very hard, very fast. And, we're going to really see some amazing pushes here soon. So I think it's absolutely amazing that we've just been sticking around for the while here, and, just making sure to cater and continue working, this comic book series that we're doing. I think we're on episode either 7 or 8. And it's a 30 kind of piece series. So you can expect that, 30 pieces, and we still got 22 to 25 to go. I mean, we still have a year's worth of planned content through the end of this bull cycle. And we obviously hope that through our branding and through our multiple different social media sites that we're going to continue to bring people in. And since we are so close to monetization within YouTube, I think a lot of people take for granted how much money can be made with the types of subscribers and people that we have on YouTube. When you have 35 to 36,000 subscribers and some of your videos are getting as much as 200,000 to 250,000 views, that can bring anywhere from $10 to $50,000 worth of monthly income. And I don't think people should sleep on the type of money that we are very close to generating just on the YouTube sphere.
So you bring up a lot of good points, and I want to touch on many of them. And I'll try and do it quickly because I'm cognizant of time and aware of this.
Yep.
Number one, I think that I talk to a lot of projects, and one of the main things that we talk about, these kind of tie together and go hand in hand. It's about how are you going to sustain yourself? What type of revenue are you going to be able to generate? What's your plan? Do you have a tax system? Do you have a donation system? Are you going to sell NFTs? Or are you going to pump out content that goes viral on social media platforms to get 15 to 20 grand a month, et cetera, or post, whatever it is, right? Are you going to build something that people will want? There's a variety of ways that could happen. And so someone put a comment from YouTube, and I forget who it was. It might have been Connor, I think was maybe the name, but it was 1 or 2 comments back ago. I'm not on YouTube right now. And they said basically, 95% of projects out there are looking to just make a quick buck. There's only a few that are really there for like the long run. I would actually increase that's probably 99.9. There you go. Thank you, Casey Barkley. Yeah. 95% of memes are trying to make a quick buck off you. Doug is in it for the long haul. You will get rewarded if you know how to hodl. That is so true, because what happens in memes and everything that you just showed, in your TA, it makes a lot of sense. And in memes, the name of the game is survival. If you can survive, where you make the most money is these projects that you are correct on that have plummeted 95% plus. Those are the projects that you make a killing on. Now you have to be right, of course. If you're wrong, well then you're wrong. But if you have a project that's hit 6 million, 7 million, what's Doug Duck's all-time high? Was it 6?
Yeah, it was a little bit over 6 million. I think it was right at about 6.5 million was right about our all-time high.
So 6.5 down to 1 isn't even that bad in the current context. Like if you look at some of the other projects, you'd be talking about it sitting at around 150K.
Right.
So
right.
If you were to bet on Doug and you're like, you know what, I think that this project is going to win more than anything, honestly, at this point right now, you're betting on the team. You're betting on their ability to figure it out, and you're betting on their ability to just survive, because liquidity's coming. We're in the bull run. This is what people fail to understand. The bull run is like a whole time period. It's not one singular, are we in the bull run today? Yes. Okay, good. Are we in the bull run tomorrow? No. Oh, shoot. Are we back in the bull run? That's not how it works. It's a run. There's ups, there's downs, but at the end of the day, it's going to, have so much liquidity flow in from normies, from what, what's happening in the news, from the engagement that's created. You're going to make 80% of the profits that you take will come in the back 10% of the bull run. It is what it is during that euphoric phase. So tying this all together, Casey said 95% of the projects are looking to make a quick buck off you. That's right. They want to take your money and they want to go. It's a scamming place. It's a difficult place. And I don't like it. No one else does. Who likes that? But if you can bet on projects that have an all-time high that are now down 70%, 80%, 90%, and you're correct, you're like, you know what? I know the project's down. Community's good, pumps out good content, sounds like they know what they're doing. I'm in. I'm not saying you have the full clip. I'm not saying you have to bet the house. But if you put I don't even want to put a number because I don't want people to be like, that's too much, too little, whatever. But let's say you put what you'd consider a reasonable amount on the project and you're correct. Well, you can get then, your 10x, your 20x, your 50x from a project that's already shown that it can survive, which means everything, because you're not going to get rugged. The team's going to keep working. The community already exists. They can pump out animations. When a new project launches and it goes from 100K to 500K, you don't know any of that. They could rug you. Is the community really going to stick? Do people even like this narrative? What's profit taking going to look like? So I always suggest
90% of the project, like you say, it's a CTO potentially within the first couple of hours.
always. They just CTO and then the CTO gets CTO'd. It's like a never ending thing. And I think that people, again, really fail to understand that I consult a lot. And people will come to me and say, my goal is to get a 1000x. I say, well, that's not really realistic. Don't try that. You're going to fail.
1 in a million, almost like the lottery.
It's even worse. It's insane. You're playing a game you're not going to win. And by the way, if you get a 100x, my recommendation would be taking profits all the way up. I'll never get a 1000x. It's not going to happen. I might get a 1000x on like 3% of my original investment in the project, but you're not going to see Soka holding his full clip from purchase to 1000x. There is no reasonable chance that's ever going to happen, and I would not recommend anyone else do that either.
And I wanted to give a good instance of something that happened. My stepbrother, he was one of the earliest Bowden investors. He put $5,000 in when it was sub $1 million market cap, and he rode that thing all the way up to $1 billion market cap in what could perceived essentially as a 1000x, and he still barely even sold a tenth of his bag and rode it all the way down back to below a $10 million market cap. And it just goes to show, like, any of these memes and stuff, you know, there's got to be a little bit of profit taking, at least on the way up. And when you are entering into a position, you got to ladder in because you don't know where the dips are necessarily going to be.
Well, 100%. And this is something that, you know, when you're talking about finding a voice and doing what you feel is right and genuine, you'll hear me talk all the time. You will very rarely hear me, even with Funky, a project that I fully believe in. I'm not going to get up on a stage and say, you have to buy this. It's 100. We're going to 10 billion, no matter what. If you don't get it, then get off the stage. You're never going to get that from me.
Because, well, it's negligent too, right? I mean, it'll get you into trouble.
Trust me. Yes. But like, that's what I hear. I go on spaces and it kind of sounds like the same stuff. It's just everyone saying, oh, this is $1 billion. This is $1 billion. This is $1 billion. Dude, everything is not going to be $1 billion. And that's okay. It's okay. We don't need to get $1 billion from every project. If your strategy was, hey, look, I'm going to bet on Doug. It's going to go up. I think that I can get a 20x on it. I'm going to take some profits. I'm going to rotate those profits into some other plays. I'm going to leave some on Doug. Like, that's a totally reasonable, very healthy trading strategy that's healthy not only for the individual, but also for the chart. If I'm over leveraged in Doug because I'm in on a community, which I know this is not Doug, but if I'm in on a community that's saying you have to only own, this is it, why would you go anywhere else? Well, then I'm so emotionally and financially invested in the project. Of course, I'm going to G the first second that I can because I'm way over leveraged. I'm no longer trading in a world where I can be emotionless and execute a plan. I have to be emotionally invested and I'm going to watch it obsessively. And when it goes up, I'm going to kill the ups because I'm going to be selling earlier than I should because I cannot afford to lose it. It's not healthy if your holders are only holding your coin.
I agree. It's as part of a balanced portfolio distribution, right? I think in my opinion, no coin should encompass more than 5 to 10% of your overall portfolio. You hear stories about people that are in the meme games and they're putting their entire portfolio into a single project and they're getting absolutely wrecked before, like you said, that really euphoric bull rush comes in where 80% of the gains are truly made. Like there's people, I mean, we have been trading in a sideways market for the last 6 months, which is typically inherent. You get about 160 to 180 days of sideways trading after the Bitcoin halving. We are in the middle of that and what's creating basically this beautiful cup and handle. I still expect Bitcoin to potentially be above $100,000 by the end of the year. Here as we start to head into October, which I think everybody got a little bit wrecked here, even in the first couple of days of October, because they were expecting, oh, it's October. But one of my favorite influencers is Marty Party, and Marty Party showed a graphic showing historical trends of cryptocurrency growth throughout October. And typically it's not until about October 19th that you really start to see the cycle increasing and starting to go into that parabolic move that is inherent of the October to April time period. So like you said, it's like you can't have all your eggs in one basket, because if you drop that basket before you get to the party, then you've got nothing to show for.
Amen. And I think that was one of the things that to be honest, when I first entered the space, I struggled with a little bit. I struggled with not what we just talked about, but finding the right people to discuss it with, because many of the people that I found in the very beginning, they were kind of boisterous. It was a little bit more of like a bro mentality, and it just wasn't my vibe. It's some people's vibe, and it's no shade against it. That's what they do. That's all good. It's like kind of music. I like certain kinds of music. I don't like other kinds of music. It is what it is. That's totally fine. But I was concerned, and that was one of the things, going way back, one of the reasons why I was hesitant to jump into meme coins in the beginning was because I'd hear some of these spaces and I'd hear a lot of like
rah, coin go up, team is working, devs are cooking in the background. You don't know what's going on, but trust me, the bags are working. This is going to be huge.
So
what is that?
Oh, so much. And I'm just like, and like I said, I have a KOL friend IRL that was in the meme coin space, is big. And some of the stuff you'd be telling me, I'm like, that seems wrong. That's what you do? What the heck? Right. And you're like, just confused. And the good thing is, I think that there's, where I see meme coins going and where I see crypto going. I'm going to dive into this real quick. I'll land the plane fast though. I think that when people first got into meme coins, they were first. And when you're first, you have the first mover advantage. You get to make a lot of money. You get all the followers, you get all the money. There are some very, very talented big KOLs. Jake, Trav, Rodney, Stecky, Enoch, unbelievable. All these guys, absolute stars. And I'm sure I'm leaving many out. So if I've accidentally forgotten you, don't worry. It is absolutely no shit against you. But there's also some, I'm definitely not going to say names here, where I listen or I look and I'm like, that is the content? That's it? Are you kidding me? We can do better. And the reason why I feel so confident of where we're going to go is because I think that this new wave of people who are coming up and trying to make it in the industry for whatever, new projects, new content creators, new spaces hosts, new whatever it is, they're going to be really pushing the envelope from we're not first, but we are going to be the hardest working and the most talented. And we're going to do our best. And I think that it'll help clean up the meme coin space a little bit from something that everyone hates, where it's like there is this, shadowy figures behind the scenes. You can't win. They take all the money. I think that's going to go. I think.
Well, yeah, you've seen with Pump.Fun, right? Like Pump.Fun has sucked a lot of liquidity out of the project, and the majority of those projects are pure rugs, before they've even gotten to the bonding curve. And even out of the ones that get to the bonding curve, less than 1,000th of them, that's 0.001, even get above a $1 million market cap. So I think, like you said, people are going to get sick and tired of going after those projects, and the ones that are truly still around working on legitimate projects are the ones that are going to actually survive this cycle. And I'm glad you brought this up, because one of the things that I wanted to get into before, we end the podcast here today is, in the past cycles, NFTs were the past cycle, right? And I think some people think that utility might be this cycle, but I don't think utility is going to be this cycle, because at the end of the day, we're still a bunch of crazy degens, and we still haven't seen that onboarding process of people using blockchain for what it truly is meant for, which is utility. No, I agree that memes are going to be this cycle. So I wanted you to kind of speak towards that, do you also think that memes are going to essentially be the NFTs of this cycle? And I think that this might even be the last big meme craze, is this cycle, before everything turns to utility and the powers of blockchain through next cycle, once really a lot of people start to get onboarded for the power of blockchain.
Great question. So I think this is the cycle of memes. I'll answer them quick and then I'll go in depth. I think this is the cycle of memes. I actually don't think memes are going to go anywhere if the industry can self-regulate. If we all as people and communities and projects shine lights on like the good projects and don't allow our liquidity to be just sucked away by the bad projects, I think it survives. If we can't do that, well, then that's a different story. Now, you touched on utility. The thing that I have about utility is there's so many bad utility projects out there, not rugs, but they're just useless. So like, I do actually think utility could play a very big role in this cycle. But the problem is of the 100 utility projects that I look at, none of them are relevant except for
90% of them are buy bots that do the same thing.
It's all the same thing. It's like maybe a slightly better version of one or the other. Like there's some projects though that I really do believe in on the utility side, and they're going to make it regardless. Like they just solve a problem for developers and for people who are buying products, then they're going to work. It just is what it is, right? So I don't think that it is a actually competitive landscape between utility and meme coins. I think they're so different and they serve such different populations that they both can work, and they both probably will work. And I think utility, it's going to be like 20 projects that are actually legitimate, suck up all the liquidity in a good way because they should, because they're actually good. And then the rest are going to die just like meme coins. So I think we are going to have a meme coin super cycle here. There's definitely going to be winners and losers. Obviously, many, many losers, many more losers. But the good projects that I'm looking for that have the ability to pump out viral content, that have longevity, that have a community, that have a narrative, that have shown that they can withstand the massive retrace that comes with that first profit taking. Like obviously Doug the Duck would fall in that category. If they can just survive, they can win. And I don't know what happens with meme coins next cycle, but I do know that people love community, people love engagement, and those aren't going anywhere. And so if we can figure out a way to really support and shine light on good projects that are about building a community, the thing that I missed when I was a Bitcoin maxi that I didn't understand until I got fully into meme coins is there's many people who go into Telegram and that's their friends. These are the people who they're just hanging out with. No one does that for Bitcoin. Bitcoin people are mad all the time. If it goes up, they're mad. But with meme coins, you go into Telegram, you just hang out. That's not going away. That is never going away. People, if they have a sense of belonging, especially for people who are, potentially needing that support, this is a great place to do it. And they can be a part of something where people care about them. And I think that is why meme coins, in my opinion, have the opportunity, of course, to at least survive beyond this cycle.
Well, I know a big thing for us right now is we are actively reaching out for partnerships with teams like us that have the true original devs that are absolutely working on their projects. That's a big thing for us is, like you said, I think there's going to be a coalition of devs that are truly working their projects. And I think if you're not in that coalition, and I'm not even going to call it a cabal because it's the teams that are actually working, we're continuing to get these partnerships, and I think it's once again, it's going to be a way to diversify ourselves. One of the things that we're working on right now, as well as a long-awaited PFP generator, which we are close to finishing, and we have been improving our website and working on a better UX and stuff as well. So we've got the PFP on the screen right here. It's something that we're really proud of, but we don't want to release something just to release something. We ultimately want to create something that's fun and amazing and that people truly can enjoy. I've seen some projects that release a PFP, and that's the main primary thing on their website. It's their main claim to fame, but PFP is just another way for us to give our community a way to enjoy the engagement that is Doug the Duck, amongst all of the other amazing things that we're doing. Like you go to our website and it's not just one page that you scroll. We have like 5 tabs now. We've got the comic book series tab. We've got a Doug the Duck shop. We've got the PFP generator is going to be here soon. And a bevy of other things. So I know that, we're working on a lot of different things, and we're working on branding, and we're continuing to get our voice out there. But is there any advice from you, Soka, before we sign off here today, that you think in the near future that we could do to continue getting the word out about Doug and continue to attract more investors?
Yeah, absolutely. To me, it's all about, this is going to sound cliche, but I'll tie it back to your PFP generator. It's all about getting the engagement out there and building the community and continue to work. For me, it's a triangle. You have to have the team, the community, and the engagement. The team's responsibility is to make it easy for the community to spread the word of the project. And then they're also going to, of course, have to get in on exchanges and things like that. They're going to have to navigate it. But it's a give and take. And really good projects work well when the team's doing their job and the community's doing their job. The community's job is to take what the team is giving Go out. Hey, look, this is what's happening. I'm sharing this. I'm commenting about it. We're talking about it. And the team's responsibility is to be able to pump that out. The reason I like a PFP generator is because many people in the community are going to be excited about working for their bags. They want to do that. And you really have a good community when it doesn't feel like they're working for their bags. They jump up on stage. Hey, I'm a community member from Doug Duck Soul. I want to shield the project. Thanks. And they're rocking the PFP. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that I usually would give to a project is make it as easy as possible for your community to work for their bags in a fun, engaging way. And if you have a PFP generator, that makes it easy. I can go click a couple buttons. I can play with it. Hey, look at the one that I just made. It's cool. Share it out onto the timeline. And it starts filling up the timeline with some more organic volume of the Doug Duck Soul content. And it starts building that community. So my main advice on how you could potentially get it out there is continue doing what you're doing. Really focus on the underlying metrics. You can't focus on market cap. It doesn't really work. It's too broad. Focus on the things that you can control. Subscribers on YouTube, what type of content you're pumping out, how the content's performing, what's going on with the community. You have to kind of set these goals for yourself. Number of followers on X, number of posts you want to make on X. And then if you check those boxes off, the market cap will come. And that's what I think, when we're talking about longevity, just survive and it's going to happen. So.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you having here on the space. We're going a little bit over an hour. We wanted to keep this to an hour here today, but I couldn't have envisioned having a better first person up here for the Doug the Duck Pondcast today. And I really, it was an absolute pleasure for me to host you and hear about your story coming up as a influencer here over the past 6 months. And a testament to your success is just obviously, that you're different than some of the other cabals that we know out there and that we've seen out there. And you are definitely one of the ones that we are happy to associate ourselves with.
Hey, likewise, man. The project is different. That's what caught my eye. I listened to the hundreds upon hundreds, maybe thousands of projects on Meme Coin Mania, and I could rattle off maybe off the top of my head 5 or 6 that I found impressive enough to buy, and Doug the Duck was one of them. So different, man, unique. It's always a good thing.
Let me ask you this, just as a final, read off question. That has nothing to do with Doug the Duck, but it does have a little bit to do with Solana and stuff. Right now we're kind of seeing the emergence of the Sui chain, much similar to like we're seeing the emergence of like Tron and some of these other chains. And Sui appears to have higher transaction speeds, and total value locked is starting to rival some of the top 10 currencies, and now it's in the top 20, having flipped Litecoin recently. Do you think this is all new buzz, or do you think Sui might actually be a chain that is going to start attracting memes? Is it something that you've started seeing people on your spaces starting to shill, or is it so fresh, and do you think it's going to die out like Tron?
I think a lot of these things everyone's pretty tired of the sideways chop. And so they're dying to have a narrative come in that they can really sink their teeth into. Does Sui make it? Does Tron make a comeback? Who knows? I honestly don't know. If I had to bet, I'd say no, just because it's hard. It's just hard. Like if you ask me, like, what chain do you think is going to have the most like meme coin volume on it? I'd say Ethereum, because it's done it before. It'll do it again. And yes, you're going to be paying $1,000 for gas fees, and there's all these problems with, but people use it. It just is what it is. Those Ethereum whales have so much money sitting on the chain. That's where the money is. So my gut would say people are just tired and they're just searching for something new. But it also wouldn't surprise me. Like if you told me in a month, 2 months that Sui continued to grow and people were really talking about it. I mean, think about all of them. We went from base, that we were in the Solana casino, then it was base was like the next thing. Other than Brett, what does base have? I like base. I like a lot of projects on base, but there's no volume.
Base created its pump fund similarity, and then it all just ended up being pumps and dumps everywhere.
I mean, I saw a set that was like, of all the meme coin volume on base, Brett is like 95% of it. So then it moved to Tron because Crash called something, and then Tron kind of petered out. But there are a lot of stables on Tron. So like, could Tron blossom once stuff starts happening? Because people are stabled up on Tron right now. So Sui, maybe, I don't know. I again, if I had to bet, I'd say no. But could it serve a place in the ecosystem? Sure. Would I be surprised if it really had its moment in the sun? Not at all. Would I be surprised if it like displaced some of the big boys? I would, but that's not even shade or FUD at the chain or the protocol. It's just, based on the number of chains that actually rise up and become something significant, it's tough to do.
I agree with you, man. I think Solana is the place for memes this cycle, which means you got to get your hands on as many of the blue chips while you're in the sideways chop, because like you said, the 80% move, the euphoric move, all of the 10s, 15s, 20x's, they have still yet to come, and it's just going to seemingly come out of nowhere. And the people that are still sitting here in the trenches, picking up the blue chips and picking up the hidden gem memes, which I like to think that Doug the Duck is one. And I think you're going to have great returns nonetheless, especially considering you're buying at heavy support levels. And like you said, I'm not the type of person to put future goals as to where Doug the Duck can grow, but all I can tell you is that the developers have high aspirations to get into those 8 and 9 digit figures.
Amen, man. I loved what I heard today. And obviously, thanks for having me too. This is so cool. And for the first one, really, really honored and humbled to be, included in it. So thank you so much for letting me jump up here and share some stories and talk, and hopefully someone got something out of it. And, obviously if there's any questions, my DMs are pretty behind at the moment, but shoot me a message and I will be happy to answer as many of them as I can.
I appreciate having you, man. And as we mentioned throughout the comments here, we are doing a $40,000 Doug giveaway for the people that have been here through the end of the comments. And we will be messaging out to one of those users either through Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, or X. So take a look at your DMs, follow your messages, as we will be reaching out to one of our lucky winners. With that being said, we're going to sign off with our amazing new Doug the Duck Pondcast episode, and we really appreciate having you here today, Soka.
Hey, yeah, you ready for our bullish talk show? We got guests for days, on queuing in a row. The biggest names in the DeFi space, black, white, and yellow, yes for every race. So hands off your dick, it's now you're in luck. We're talking crypto daily with a big pump Doug. Big Doc energy, let's make bats fast. Come chill with us here on the Pondcast.
Thank you.